What'd you think of that Mexico scene?
Oh my God. Just the description of, he's flying down. He has this like interesting friend, this
Marco.
Do you think he's a Mexican drug lord like that? Or he's all legitimate?
No, I think his business is clean. I think he knows Mexico. So any sort of millionaire, billionaire, whoever, you're going to have a certain relationship with the drug gangs. Not a legal one or an illicit one, but I think you have to know how to play the game. And so I get that Marco is clean, but he's also playing the game.
Right. Yeah.
He's got connections.
Got connections, gets him into this house. And just the description of how he's methodically going through through each room. And, we'll spare some of the descriptions of the acts that the men are going through. But it's just a fucking crazy scene, man. Some of the kills are crazy. And then ultimately, he makes it almost entirely through the house unnoticed until the very end. And luckily, his friend is there to help him with the last couple kills, but he gets out unscathed. This scene reminds me of the other Mexican scene with Mitch and taking out all those gangbangers at the house as well.
In Consent to Kill.
Yeah.
The gang that was holed up, although I don't think that was in Mexico. They were definitely a Latino gang. Was it Leesburg? I think it might have been Leesburg, Virginia, where they had a safe house. And yeah, I think Rapp also takes out 13, 14 guys, something like that. But the count here for Reece, he gets 12 kills. One of them, he sliced his throat open, and that was the guy he saw had a gunshot wound, which sent him into an absolute fury. Because he knows that was the slug that Lauren put into him. And so he really got revenge on that guy. Another one, he doesn't want to wake the woman, the prostitute next to him. So he uses the tomahawk, just a clean crack right through the back of his skull while he's in bed. He does kill a woman with a grenade. There is a frag down the hallway. He tried his best to leave a lot of the women and prostitutes in this safe house alone. But there was one he got with a frag. So he killed 13 people. 12 of them were hostiles. And then Marco kills another 2 guys and another 1 woman. So we got a total of 14 guys and at least 2 or 3 women down. Marco even keeps that one guy, or one of Marco's security men says, "Hey, I took this guy as a hostage." And Reece looks at him and goes, "No, I don't need to talk to anybody." Boom.
He already has all the information he needs. He's such an adept investigator. He doesn't need any more information from them.
Yeah, cool scene. Cool scene.
Like you mentioned, the next place he uses his tomahawk is in San Diego with his imam. Like, perfectly crafted villain, like the mini villain, and how, he was used by the Jag, Leonard Howard, right? To set up the hit on his boys over there. And he plays the part of a perfect graduate student doing some light research on what is it? Religious studies. What was the name of the course he was taking?
Yeah, some religious studies course, and I forget what university he said he's from. Was it Stanford?
It was funny. I don't know.
But he's like, what would a middle-aged professor of religious studies wear? You know what? Tweed jacket. I'm going to get a tweed jacket. With the elbows, with the elbow patches.
The elbows. Yeah.
He plays the part, man.
Friggin' goes in this place, kills him, and then puts his head on a spike to send a message.
Yo, he doesn't just kill him. He has a full-on conversation about religion and extremism. But what's amazing is he goes, "Oh, can I just take some notes on my laptop?" And he has an old, 90s laptop that a professor his age might still carry. Yet inside, it's hollowed out. The hard drive is removed. And it's just enough room for him to slip the tomahawk out of this empty laptop. And he's talking to the imam while he's pulling out the tomahawk. It's just absolutely insane. And then I would say it's the second most gruesome thing that Jack wrote. The first one we still have to get to that may involve intestines and bowels. But when Jack's using the tomahawk to slice the dude's spine, he's describing, it's easy to slice the neck, but when you need to decapitate, it actually takes a couple of unique movements to use that Winkler to slice the spine and the vertebrae to get the head removed. I'm like, Oh my goodness.
Yeah, not for the faint of heart.
Oh. So, do you want to talk about the Admiral? Because that's a cool kill. Or Leonard Howard, who I think takes the cake for the most excruciating kill of them all.
Yeah, definitely Howard takes excruciating. That one was just ridiculous. So Josh Holder, like, just gets quietly sniped in the night. Like, that one was an interesting kill. And then we quickly move on to this suicide vest where Mike Tedesco barges into the Admiral's office and just blows him up. At that point, you're like, what? Why is he walking in? And then all of a sudden he hands him a cell phone, and then it clicks. Like, because you recall back to a couple chapters when he was, building this improvised bomb.
Yeah, that's right. He had Katie go around with cash to different construction stores and get all the materials. Oh yeah, and pick up a van. He's finding things on like eBay and message boards. That's right. That's right. It was kind of cool, the descriptions of him building the IED and the suicide vest.
Right.
Yeah, we both liked Admiral Pilsner as this villain. Just listen to how he's described. Quote, Admiral Gerald Pilsner was a short man, not out of shape, but not someone who immediately commanded respect. He was the quintessential officer in the most derogatory sense of the word. He commanded respect due to his rank, in stark contrast to a guy like Reece, who earned the respect of his men through word and deed. In the world of special operations, your reputation was your currency, and in that sense, Admiral Pilsner was a very poor man. The total opposite of Reece.
Oh, yeah, definitely. All right, why don't you talk about Leonard Howard's, like that excruciating, the worst kill of the season.
True, but another thing about the suicide vest in the Admiral's office, later on when a team of SEALs is tasked with going after Reece, and one of them, who's his buddy, just can't do it, and he's relieved of his duty, he won't be on the mission because he looks up to Reece so much. Another guy goes, how many people did he take out at Warcom? He goes, that's the thing. The suicide vest was designed with just the right specs that it only took out Tedesco and the Admiral. He didn't even kill any, the secretary, I think, just blew out an eardrum, but it didn't hurt anybody else. And he goes, oh, cool, blowing up Warcom and not really hurting anybody who's innocent. I'm kind of liking this guy. Like, the way he's doing these kills is just to exact revenge and not to indiscriminately hurt civilians or bystanders.
Yeah. I mean, he's a stand-up guy for a mass killer.
Right. How stand-up can you be if you row a dude out into a mangrove swamp, you slice his intestines, or his stomach so his intestines fall out, you use a knife to pin them to a tree, and you force him to walk in circles around it, and essentially strangle the tree with his own intestines, and then leave him to bleed out?
That was probably the most inventive way I've heard of a kill or read about a kill in a novel yet. Like where the fuck did this come from?
Well, did you catch it? He said,
yeah, no, I know he said it, but like, how did Jack, like, what, he's just doing research about like how in the past people kill people?
I think so. Like Reece, he's a student of war, so he's a junkie for all that. But yeah, the Incans would use it.
This has to be like your theory, right? Why there were so many bad guys? Because Jack just had 12 ways he wanted to kill people. And so he had to come up with 12 bad guys to enact each of the 12, revenge points.
12 ways to get revenge on anybody who murders your family and best friends. A handbook. Oh, it's terrible. Is that most of the list? Did we cover the list?
Yeah, it's most of the list besides like the sort of the big players, right? We have the Hartleys, we have Steve Horn, and then
still alive. Yep.
Ben Edwards, which we haven't talked about yet.
Well, he's a good friend. He's still providing a lot of intel, and he's helping Reece make these connections to put more names on the list and get them done. It's really just that final scene now on Fisher's Island that we get to, right?
Yep.
Although, speaking of Fisher's Island, you know who helps get him there? Two people we didn't talk about yet. One, well, both who feature in the series, but one who very much features in the next book.
The pilot?
Oh, the pilot, Liz, definitely is a close friend. I love their relationship, too.
Yeah, that was a nice relationship.
He saved her. She was it in Iraq or Afghanistan? But she got ambushed.
Yeah, that was a cool story.
Yeah, she got shot down. She killed 6 insurgents who were closing in on her. And then Reece defied his orders to stand down. And he went in and carried her out. Quite literally, carried her over his shoulder out of the firefight. And even got shot in the leg doing it. And so they were really close friends. Practically, she's his sister, that's how close they are. And that even comes up a few times. There was a cool story also, a backstory about Katie Bernick, the journalist. Now he's got a pilot helping him, good friend in Liz. Katie, good friend as a journalist. Her father was an army doctor.
Yes.
In Czechoslovakia, who was giving intel to the U.S. He didn't like what he saw his Soviet government doing, and he was helping the U.S. He was even giving medical records of a lot of the party elite in Czechoslovakia and a lot of the communist leaders. And guess who the case officer was handling Katie's father? Reece's dad.
Reece's dad, yeah. At first when I was reading this, I was like, is this too much of a coincidence? But then I guess it sets up for why she sought him out when over in Afghanistan, right? So
right.
She saw the name, put 2 and 2 together. But
right.
Yeah, no, that was a nice little backstory.
Just like Reece defied orders to save Liz, Reece's dad was told by the higher-ups in the CIA not to get Katie's father out. When he was in danger, Reece's dad wasn't going to let one of his agents get caught, and he made it his mission to get him out, even though Langley didn't want him to, and Langley said no.
Right.
So I guess part of me did wonder, how is Reece getting all this done? And he's really just that good, but you need close friends. Like, how did that many people want to do and risk their lives to help him on this mission? But it's totally viable because of who he is and how his family has been and the connections they've made. You totally buy into why so many people, from Liz to Katie, who we thought Ben, would risk their lives to help him.
Right.
And the other person risking their lives is Rafe Hastings, who provides the boat to take him out to Fisher's Island, which is off the eastern shore of Long Island and up near Connecticut in the Long Island Sound. And Rafe's sister drops off the sailboat at the end for him. The Hastings, Chris, you haven't read it, are going to play a major role in True Believer. So the Hastings family, keep that name in your mind.
All right, I'm excited. Yeah, no, I like the character of Rafe. Like, and all of these small little characters, the good guys are going to score very highly in this book. Jack is able to give them good backstories, makes you understand who James Reece is. He has these connections, why he's able to do what he does. All of them were super well thought out. So, yeah, I enjoyed all of them.
Final scene. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
What's the third part called? We had the ambush as part 1, the list as part 2.
Oh, yeah, what is it called?
Part 2 is the list. Part 3, the reckoning.
The Reckoning.
That's a great name.
Yeah, no, it's all coming up to this culmination, right, of how are we going to deal with Horn, the Hartleys, and then finally, how are we going to deal with Ben Edwards, right?
But I would say the Hartleys and Steve Horn are the bigwigs. They're the power players. Because Steve Horn is the guy with the capital, like the investment firm that's really pushing and driving this medical research and getting this product to market. His number one ally is the Secretary of Defense, Lorraine Hartley, who is slated to become president. She is the front runner for the nomination and a shoo-in, they say. So now you got Steve Horn trying to get Lorraine Hartley, soon to be president, in his back pocket, pushing this stuff. Those are 2 big names and power positions you don't want to come up against, unless you're James Reece.
Right. What did you think? I don't know. The ending where you actually pulled the quote that I wanted to pull. You whenever I want to pull a quote, you often have it. This idea, where is it? I'm trying to find it. How did you know that wouldn't blow off my head? I didn't.
Oh, dude, I love that. I didn't. Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about that at the very end because that's the last words of the book before the epilogue.
Yeah. So we've been beating around the bush here, right? But this Ben Edwards heel turn at the end. Did you buy it? Did you see it coming? What did you think of the ultimate variant?
Dude, I did not see it coming. And I'll be honest, I forgot about it from 2-3 years ago when I first read the book. I just was so bought into the story. I didn't see it coming even the second. Well, I guess this is the third time I read it. I forgot it. It caught me off guard. But then it made a lot of sense. How was Reece getting all this intel? Why was it so good? Why was he able to put these connections together? He was kind of being led. Someone from the inside taking care of loose ends.
Right.
And the last part that made sense was the more the people in the plot get picked off, the bigger the slice of pie left for those still standing. So obviously, it's a Ponzi scheme, right? The guys at the top are going to screw everyone else, even the people who they made deals with, because if you're out of the deal, bigger chunk for me. And Ben said, I had a price, and when that price reached double digits in the millions, so he would have got more than 10 million for this, man, he was turned. And like he said, Lucy and Lauren were already dead by the time he was brought in. That was already decided upon.
Yeah.
So what's done was done.
I didn't see it coming, but when it happened, I thought back to every scene he popped in, because he sort of pops in out of nowhere in some of these scenes, right? And It makes total sense because he actually knows what's going on, and
yes,
with the fact that he has this crystal clear information, and he's worked for the CIA, he's off books, he does something like private contractor, government worker, intel guy. And again, I'm super looking forward to seeing Taylor Kitsch play this role because I think he's going to nail it. I look at him and he looks at this kind of guy that's going to backstab a really good friend. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anything else we missed?
Dude, yeah, we did. Katie at the end and then the epilogue.
Sorry, there was just so much killing in this book. It's hard to keep up with everything.
When Reece comes down and thinks he has the Hartleys and Steve Horn cornered because he took out the sniper and he had a bomb under their security crew waiting in the SUV, there's another heartbreaker. Not only is Ben Edwards turned, he's got det cord around Katie Buraneck's neck with a dead man switch. How did you feel about Katie being used kind of as bait here, or this bargaining chip that her life was on the line? Is it just Steve Horn being a complete asshole?
Yeah, we haven't really talked about Horn a lot, but I guess besides the Admiral, he's probably the other big bad that gets fleshed out the most, and he's just sleazy, skymeball-y, you just really don't like him. I think the first time we meet him, he's described as this guy who everyone else is complete shit. He grew up just being spoon-fed as a baby. Was he quarterback at Stanford or something like that? Some bullshit. Silver, golden spoon, had everything in life. So yeah, when he does that at the very end, you could see it coming. He's gonna do anything to preserve his life, his money. Hell, he's the whole reason why these people started dying, right?
Yeah, and everything is like a sales pitch. Even at the end,
when
he's explaining, Reece, if you trade your life, we'll let Katie live. You kill yourself right here, right now. It even says he's making another sales pitch, and he does that to the Hartleys as well. He tells Lorraine Hartley, oh, this is going to be okay, and she's getting pissed that he's held so much from her, and a lot of this killing he's masterminded, and he just keeps convincing her, it's more money for us, this thing's going to work out, cockiness. It's almost remember the opening scene of Lions of Lucerne? Remember that politician... Oh, no, I think he was an energy magnate. He was one of these wheelers and dealers. He was having that.
Oh, yeah. In the meeting in the
room. He's schmoozing with some politicians that he brought over to his house. He reminded me of Horn a little bit here. That kind of persona. Or the guy killed in Term Limits.
Yes.
The drunk banker who comes home and Scott Coleman snaps his neck. I feel like that's a trope, and Steve Horn is up there with, you know, how Vince made these characters and Brad Thor makes these characters.
Well, this whole book had some Term Limits vibes to it, right?
Oh, it did. Definitely did. Yeah. Which is a big influence for Jack, as we know.
Yeah, definitely.
Dude, what about these final words? So before we get to the epilogue, we'll cover real quick. The final words of the book are kind of devastating. Because Reece gets out of the quagmire. He shoots all three of them. Lorraine Hartley, Steve Horn, and Ben Edwards. Ben Edwards, when he gets shot, releases the button.
Right.
And Katie doesn't blow up. And she's freaking out, but they've got to hightail it out of there. And Liz Riley picks them up with the plane, always there to help out. And Reece doesn't go. He goes, I can't have you guys, Liz and Katie, two people he dearly cares for, involved any further. He wants them to get away and the trail to go cold so no one can connect them. He gives Katie the flash drive with all of the recordings from what just happened and how Steve and Ben and Lorraine implicated themselves before they were killed. All the other intel that he compiled with Ben Edwards, Katie's got it to go tell the story. But she asks right as she's getting on the plane and Reece takes off, how did you know that bomb wasn't going to go off? And the final words that Reece says, I didn't. Dude.
Yeah, I didn't know how to feel about that.
He gambled.
Yeah, I guess he was gambling with the idea of he knew who Ben was and that Ben probably would be bluffing in that situation. But also just, I don't know, I kind of felt torn that like, wow, you would, I mean, I know he's at this like high point of revenge, right? And he just found out that a very good friend of his turned on him and he's almost checked all the names off his list. But there's this other person who just recently came into his life. Not like he has a super long relationship with him, but, you know, she shared that heartfelt story with him about her father and his father. I don't know. I was like, wow, I guess it's just, you know, it's made for TV plot ending, but, you know, you had to think about it. Like, he put her life in danger, right?
Well, guess what? True Believer goes into it.
Really?
Dude, I cannot wait for you to read it. Yep. It rightfully so is a huge sticking point for Katie, right? What's she thinking on this plane? Who is this Liz character? What did Reece do? Did he really gamble with my life? Is he who I thought he was? And man, yeah, this is called the reckoning. There's going to have to be some reckoning there with their relationship. So,
okay.
Although I may be spoiled too much for you because the ending scene, he's on that boat in the epilogue. He's out at sea, ready to just meet Lauren and Lucy and let the tumor take him away. Doesn't even know if he'll make it across the ocean. And you know what he has with him? The list.
Oh, the list. Yeah, that he puts out to sea. That was a nice touching moment.
He puts it to his heart. Yep, and lets it drop.
I just love that the list is written on a picture drawn by Lucy.
With a rainbow and the family portrait of the three of them. Oh, it's heartbreaking.
They better get that right in the TV show.
Dude, when they show the list, I need to see the list. I need to see the crayon drawing. Oh, yeah, it has to happen. 100%. I think out of everything in this book, even all the crazy kills, I want to see the list more than anything.
Yes. But, spoiler, there's now been 5 books. He's not terminal because he got a voicemail, right?
But he doesn't have his phone. It's in evidence collection when Dr. German calls. Yeah.
It said that he has a 75% chance that he can remove tumor safely, right? And obviously we know there's now been 5 books, so while I haven't read True Believer yet, I'm assuming he gets the tumor removed, and this is something that's mentioned.
Yeah, you're going to have to find out who finds the voicemail on the phone in evidence, and how do they get to Reece on this sailboat and where he's headed. So he does make a little bit of a turn on the sailboat, I could tell you that. So, True Believer, coming at you.
We got a lot of questions. We got, the whole Katie stuff. We have, how does he find out that he's actually not dying, or that he doesn't have to die? Does he get away, So, because he's still like, well, I guess she's gonna tell the world what happened, but he still did kill a lot of people. So that's something that's got to be, that's something that's got to be addressed. I hope, at least.
It is all addressed, I will tell you. It's addressed satisfactorily. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Dude, I finished this book as we get into the scorecard, and the first time I read it, the second time I read it, and now the third time I read it, every single time I finished it and go, that is literally one of the best things I've ever read. It is a complete story. It is an almost perfect, complete story, start to finish.
All right, so let's get into our scorecard here, Mike.
Let's do it. Plot and action, tell me. What are you thinking?
I gave it a solid 9. It was very good. I get both solid 9s. Like, the plot was gripping. I'm actually going to change the plot to a 10 because just the story.
Yes, sir.
Of everything made sense. It was gripping, engaging. You know, I guess I gave the action a 9 because, yeah, there was a lot of action, but there was also like just a lot. Most of the story was like this methodical sort of thriller spy piece of like finding out the information. Then we got like little spurts of action here and there. You know, very beginning.
Okay, so maybe more the pacing of the action. I think there's a ton of it, but I could see
it ramps up towards the end. You know, it does.
How it unfolds. Okay, I understand that, dude. I went 10 and 10. Action and plot. I can't think of a story that's better on both of those. If I'm being honest with you, it's like I said before, almost a perfectly complete story, and I love how it unfolds. Because of that, I'm also a perfect 5 on buy-in. So for anyone who doesn't know, the Thriller Pod scorecard is a 50-point scoring system. Action and plot get 10 points apiece, being the most important categories. Buy-in, bad guys, good guys, setting, cover, and a free space for a winner. Each of those is 5 points for a total of 50. So I got 10 and 10 for action and plot, 5 for buy-in. What'd you say for buy-in?
I gave it a 5. Like, I completely bought the entire story.
Absolutely.
I was gripped, engaged the entire time. There was nothing that sort of made me dip, and I was just engaged the entire time, and I didn't question anything. So yeah, it gets a 5.
There's no plot holes. Yeah, there's no plot holes that take you out of it. The bad guys. What'd you think about the cabal of characters?
I thought they were all decently solid. I gave them a 4. I sort of dinged them on the fact that there was just a lot of them, and a lot of them that, while interesting, just like because we had so much, we couldn't like fully dive deep, like truly deep into any single one. So yeah, that's why I gave it a little bit of a ding.
I'm gonna agree with you on the villains. They each had a unique characteristic they brought to the table, like Mike Tedesco, right? Found himself in the wrong place, got in bed with the wrong people, realized he wasn't on board with this, but he was in too deep. Or Holder, who was a special agent of some kind, so he had that skill. You had the bankers, you had the Hartleys, the politicians. I thought it was a really well-crafted and overall well-rounded group of villains. But yeah, no one really particularly got under my skin. Like, no one really, truly made me squirm.
Right.
Horn, you saw how bad he was.
Maybe, yeah.
Hartley, yeah, she's the Secretary of Defense, so she's a power player, and she's pretty evil in some of her conversations, but...
Right. Real Hillary Clinton vibes there.
I went 4 out of 5. No one really ran away with the villain piece. All right, how about our good guys?
I didn't want to give him quite a 5 because I feel like we're building a team. Like if you think about like a Mission Impossible, like we're beginning to see the beginnings of, like the Ving Rhames or the I forget his name, the character's name, but anyways, like the side characters that when you or like in James Bond where you have Quartermaster and Moneypenny, like the first time you see him, you learn a little bit about him, but I feel like eventually these characters are going to grow and we're going to see a lot more of them. But ultimately, they were very good. So I gave it a. I didn't want to give it a 5, but I also didn't want to give it a 4, so 4.5.
4.5. Okay. I went with a 5.
Solid 5. I mean, you are high on this book, man.
I think the way the people surrounding James Reece look up to him and revere him, whether it's people in his team or people who knew him and his family on a personal level. I love the people he's bringing in to help him and how they're 100% on board with him along the way. I think it's just really cool. I love Katie. I love Liz. Love Reece. In the beginning, you love Boozer.
Right. All right.
Lauren and Lucy, I got to give a tribute to them, so I'm going 5 out of 5.
Okay. All right, what about setting, Mike? I went a little low on setting.
Yeah, I
don't know. I guess
I was torn here.
I'm trying. So the problem is coming off of Brad Thor novels.
There's no real one place described so completely and so well.
Yeah. Besides San Diego, he does describe San Diego very well, right? That's like the only city that he describes really well, and you can make sense of that because that's where he was stationed for such a long time. But I felt like coming off of Brad Thor and the globetrotting we do and the descriptions we get in those, I was maybe I'm setting up for failure by comparing it to that. But yeah, some of the other places we go to, we don't get that great of descriptions. So I ultimately gave it a 3.
Yeah, I think that's valid. I went as high as a 4 out of 5 because I think you're right. There's no one place I was 100% transported to and was described so viscerally that I sensed it. But each place I have a great picture of. So Wyoming, even though we're not there long, description of him traipsing through the mountains, and he picks the first day of hunting season so he can make it look like it was a hunting accident.
Right.
Going through the hills in this road of Wyoming is in my mind, even though it was just a couple of pages. The mangrove swamp. The way I can see and feel Howard in this swamp, walking around this tree. Again, it's not a big, huge part of the story, but I can sense it. I could feel it. Same thing on Fisher's Island. You know, this getaway between Long Island and Connecticut for the hoity-toity, the upper crust of society. I felt like I was there. So there was no one place that we were at. Maybe Coronado Beach, maybe San Diego. That's true. But each individual place we went to, I still got a great flavor for. So I went 4 out of 5.
All right, you're selling me. I'm gonna throw in another half piece.
Okay, I got you to the 3.5. All right. Now, for people who don't know the No Limits brand, we are very big on covers. So the next part of the scorecard is known as Judge a Cover by the Book. Chris, how do you judge these covers?
Kind of harshly.
Really?
I'm not going to lie. The main reason is that 3 out of the 6 covers each have a picture of a face or a guy. And I'm not, as you know, and I think you are too, not a big fan when they try to like, you know, we don't love the German ones because they often have like a Mitch Rapp or a Scot Harvath depiction. And especially like the main one that was the original one, that was not the guy that I had in my head.
Okay.
And if that's the guy that I think James Reece is, that's not what Chris Pratt looks like.
Okay. So a disconnect?
Maybe that's just like why because then I also see him on cover C, and I need to see him in the show because I know he can get ripped as Star-Lord. But again, I just don't see him as this, whatever they're showing this James Reece guy in Terminal List. And then I looked at the covers ahead for, you know, Savage Son and True Believer, and it's not like the same person. It's like a different person every time. Did you catch on that?
They keep the trope going of the person. It's really not. I kind of thought he looks similar.
Oh, maybe he does look similar, but
interesting.
I don't know what
different angles. I would say it's from different angles.
Different angles. Okay.
Well, actually, it looks like he's got a tattoo. Can you see his arms on any of the other covers?
No, I think it's mainly his face.
You're right. Having people trying to actually show what the main character looks like on a cover, I'm not a big fan of that. But overall, I really like these compositions. I think individual pieces of the covers don't work. Right, the color scheme. I love the red on the Capitol, the white of the Rotunda against this blue background. So it's kind of looking like a flag. And then in B, I do like how there are these strips of paper almost torn apart. Makes me think of redactions or putting together pieces of a puzzle, getting intel, little bits here and there. One of the kickers for me, I love cover C. For anyone who doesn't know, we will post
cover
a
C
graphic.
Is really good. It's probably the best cover.
Yes. For anyone who doesn't know, we'll post a graphic of these 6 covers. And cover C is the movie one. And I think they did a great job with this, particularly because they're really playing up the memory loss and the drug and the PTSD angle of things. The TV show, I think, is going to run with that as a theme.
Yeah.
And so to have half of Chris Pratt's brain essentially missing and crumbling and filled in with
the scene
bombed out buildings.
Right. Potentially the scene where he loses all of his men. You see at the very bottom all of these caskets, right?
Right. Exactly. The caskets at the bottom.
And then Terminal is cut through like a list.
The slash. And we saw that in all the media about the TV show. I thought that's genius. And I'm kind of looking at the other covers and wishing they had that. That Terminal was slashed through, the actual word. It's such a great touch by the Amazon team, the Prime Video team.
Although we do get some slashes in cover E.
So cover E
actually
pushed
has
me up
the list
to a 4.5. Yeah.
Ooh.
It's got the list. It's got the bullet points. It's the German version, Die Abschlusslist. Guessing Terminal List, you know. This is ein James Reece thriller. But that German cover is mint. Josh Holder crossed out. Saul Agnon. It's so cool. I love that.
Is that all the covers? Any other ones you want to talk about?
Apparently there was a German release where it was just called Hass, which means hate. I have no idea why they completely changed the title.
Interesting. Okay.
And I don't know why this guy is wearing a suit in the middle of a desert. So that's thrown me off. You know what? I'm going to go 4. I'm going to go 4 out of 5. Love the covers. Couple things off with them. But for some reason, this release just says Haas. I don't know. And dude's wearing a suit in the desert. Yeah, so I'm going 4 out of 5.
Okay. I went a 3.5.
Okay. Well, Chris, what is your free space? What are you giving a bonus 5 out of 5 for? Something you loved about the book?
It's got to be the Mexican takedown scene. That's my 5 out of 5. Just the description of that, like we didn't go, we're somewhat family friendly. We don't curse that much, but just I don't know. Some of the depictions that he references in there were just hilarious, and then juxtaposed with this seeing his precision in fighting, and we really like see who James Reece is in terms of an operator. Like here, we see him in terms of like his skill in like spycraft and other means, but just how he's able to get in, and even like the little quip he says with this whole Hollywood image of 2 shots to the body, 1 to the head. That's actually like bullshit. It's actually
the Mozambique method.
Yeah, you use either you can use 1 bullet or 10 bullets. Doesn't matter.
Whatever you need.
They need to go down. So
yeah, you got to do what you got to do to take the guy down.
Mine's the Mexico scene. What about you, Mike?
Yeah, that scene does establish Reece as the operator we've been told he is. But that's where we get to see him knocking down doors. Knocking down doors, taking people out, clearing rooms. And so it's kind of cool that gets established. I'm just going to give it up for Jack Carr with my 5 out of 5. Just as a debut book, some of the writing here is just phenomenal. We talked about the plot as a whole and the character development. But if we zoom in, there's just a lot of individual gems. Some of these lines are just perfect. We read a bunch of them already, but 2 others that I really liked. So 5 out of 5 for Jack's writing in his debut book. He writes at one point, quote, Reece looked like a man preparing for war, which is exactly what he was. Whoever these people were, they had taken everything from him. Everything but his will to fight. For that, they would pay dearly. Or another one. When he's preparing with Marco and Marco's watching him, he says, quote, Reece was all business. Tonight, that business was death. So man, just quotes like that, the ones I read here throughout, Jack Carr gets a 5 out of 5 for some awesome writing in this debut novel.
Very true, Mike. Very true.
What's the total? What does that give you, Chris, on the scorecard?
It gives me a pretty decent score of 44.5.
Okay. I did it. I went 47 out of 50.
Wow.
I don't think we've had a score that high on the Thriller podcast yet.
No, I don't
but
think
this
so.
book is almost perfect for me. 47
Okay.
out of 50.
All right. There it is. That's The Terminalist. All right. So next week, we will be bringing you some more Jack Carr content. Please, by the time this episode drops, we've already released our instant reaction to the Terminalist trailer, as well as Mike's interview with Kevin and what was the name of the...
Abraham,
the high schooler. Yeah. So go check out that, as well as soon as that first episode drops on July 1st, we're going to be consuming it nonstop. We're going to be bringing on some guests to do some instant react pods. So yeah, looking forward to that. As always, we need to thank our patrons, our special operator, Sherry F., our special agents, Daryl, Kevin, George, Matt, Dawn, Dennis, Peggy, Catherine, Ray, Bridget, Jeff, and Mark. Please subscribe, rate, and review using your favorite podcasting platform. Find us at thrillerpod.com or at Thriller Podcast. And as always, slow is smooth and smooth is fast.